Should you take the SAT or the ACT? You should take neither. You can avoid writing these ridiculous and outdated tests altogether. And we promise you that not writing these tests will not hurt your chances of getting accepted to your top choice college if you approach your application correctly. And we will teach you just how to do that in this video. Before we get into more detail, my name is Zhenya. Here at BMO, we have helped over 60,000 students pursue their dream programs. And I will share with you what we've seen that works and what doesn't work in terms of ACT and SATs. So the question is whether you should take the SAT or ACT. Hell no. You should not take either if you can avoid taking these tests. If you can avoid taking the SAT or the ACT, do yourself a favor and just don't take them. There's possible two reasons that you might plan on taking. One of the reasons that you might consider taking these tests is that your top choice college still requires one of these test scores, right? But firstly, most importantly, you should remember that most prestigious colleges and other colleges in the United States and all over the world have actually come to the conclusion that these tests do nothing. They are stupid. They are not indicative of anything but your ability to sit through a really long and boring test, essentially. Universities like Harvard, Princeton, they've made these tests optional for admission. So it's because these tests do not really assess the most important things about a student, like their curiosity, intrinsic motivation to study, their potential, right? So if you're thinking of writing the SAT or the ACT because your top choice colleges still list them as sort of requirements for admission, reach out to them and ask them if this is a non-negotiable requirement. Obviously, don't reach out to them with this kind of vibe that you just want to skip the test and you're too lazy to take it. Obviously, that's not a good approach. But reach out and demonstrate that you have other accomplishments and skills that will outweigh even the most perfect SAT or ACT score. For example, if you have a really high GPA, a really good GPA, then inquire if, submitting your grades is enough to compensate and to showcase your academic abilities. Or for example, if you've taken IB or the AP courses, ask if they are enough to demonstrate your academic preparedness, right? That's what the SAT and ACT are sort of used for. And most colleges will actually gladly accept those as proof of your academic preparedness, of your academic achievements. As I already said, most colleges have acknowledged that SAT and ACT are not indicative really of anything worthwhile. So most colleges might actually meet you halfway and replace your test scores with another academic achievement that you have, and will be glad to do so. But there's another reason that you might actually consider taking the SAT or the ACT. This reason is that you want to make sure that you check off all the boxes and show yourself as the perfect candidate who does not miss any requirements, right? I totally understand you. It's one of those situations where you just don't want to give the admissions committee any reason to remove you from the applicant pool, right? But I have to tell you that this approach is a little old and it kind of sets you back in a way. I totally understand your desire to be, a good little student, the perfect little student who follows all the rules and checks off all the boxes, but you will not get far with this mindset, especially if you're pursuing really competitive colleges. Just think about it this way. Millions of students write the SAT or the ACT and get really good scores. So if you write the SAT or the ACT and get a good score, you'll be just another student with a good SAT or ACT score, right? It will not help you stand out. It will not showcase your originality or your uniqueness. You will simply be following the rules for the sake of following the rules, especially if your colleges are test optional. But you know the number one rule of college admissions, right? You have to stand out. SAT and ACT scores, even perfect scores, do not make you stand out. Especially when you apply to colleges that made these tests optional, you're just putting yourself, in a non-competitive pool. Just think as an admissions officer, will you remember somebody with even a perfect SAT score? Or will you remember someone who does like stand-up comedy on the side, right? As a hobby, as an extracurricular, let's say. Or somebody who wrote their essay in like verse form, right? Like Shakespeare, the next Homer, right? Most likely it will be either the comedy or verse rather than the SAT score. You need to really think outside of the box when you apply to colleges, especially competitive colleges, and prestigious programs are just not impressed with high SAT scores anymore, right? You're just checking off a box. You need to be memorable. You need to be unique. And here's a quick test to help you understand what I'm talking about. May I please ask you to take a piece of paper and a marker, and you can pause the video while you get these items. Now, take your piece of paper and the marker and draw a big circle on it. Okay, so done? Good. Now, draw a little dot on the piece of paper. Anywhere on the piece of paper. Are you done? Good. Now, see where you placed the dot. Majority of people will actually place the dot somewhere inside the circle. But remember that I asked that you can place the dot anywhere on the piece of paper, not in the circle specifically. So you will free to put it literally anywhere on the paper. In fact, there's a myth that when Napoleon was asked to do this, he turned the paper around and placed the dot on the other side of the sheet. Now, whether that's true or not, you get the idea though. Putting the dot in the circle is like writing the SAT or the ACT. In other words, it's just not creative or memorable. You want to be Napoleon when you apply to college, right? So avoiding these standardized tests is actually your chance to stand out and secure a spot in your top choice school by being creative, memorable, and unique. Instead of wasting your time and effort and money, lots of money, on SAT or ACT prep, spend your time on making sure that you're a really memorable and creative and unique applicant. There are many ways to do this, and we'll talk about them in a second. And your approach to how to make yourself memorable will of course depend on your experiences and skills, but there are many ways, and they will greatly outweigh an SAT score or ACT score that's very high. You do not need these tests to get accepted to schools that made SAT and ACT, an option for you. So here's some of these ways. The first approach to outweigh SAT or ACT scores is to participate in an extracurricular that will just blow away the competition and the admissions officers, okay? Now, I'm not talking about, solving the world hunger or something like that. You don't need that to stand out. That's not what I mean. But instead of spending your high school years revising SAT prep books, dedicate this time to something you actually love, an activity that matters to you. It does not have to be like prestigious or trendy. It can be anything. It can be being a Girl Scout. It can be dancing or sport or even knitting. And, the point is to show excellence, dedication, commitment, and growth in whatever activity that you choose to pursue. Okay? And you might be wondering, well, how can knitting really blow away the competition? But, just consider the patience, the manual dexterity, the attention to detail that you need to have to be a good knitter. Right? Or furthermore, like you can say that your knitting helps the homeless. Maybe you donate the things that you knit to homeless shelters, and these items help the homeless or the needy and, during the cold months. And this shows your altruism and commitment to your community, right? Or on the other hand, if, for example, you knit and you sell your items on Etsy or some other online platform, this shows your, your entrepreneurial spirit and like your creativity. So that's a really cool angle to showcase, and this will be memorable and unique. Again, the possibilities are really endless. Knitting is just an example, but the point is that instead of wasting your time and effort and money on ACT prep, SAT prep, use this time to achieve excellence at something that you love to do, something that will then help you stand out as an applicant, right? Rather than another SAT score. And another way to stand out as a college applicant without SATs or ACTs is, to prepare an admissions essay that totally surprises and wows the admissions committee. And of course, your experiences and your skills matter, right? They can be really impressive. But really what matters in an essay is how you talk about them, right? It's not just the experiences and the skills, it's how you feel about it. And it's about how you tell your story. And I have a really great example here of how one of our students talked about her motivation to pursue an English lit degree. Okay, so here's the first draft of what she said. Again, don't judge her too harshly. This is just the first draft that she submitted. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice was one of the most significant pieces of literature that shaped my love of English literature and why I chose to pursue it in college, right? Pretty bland, right? We get nothing from this sentence. Actually, it just kind of takes up space. But now check out the final version of the same experience and how the student talks about it, okay? While we were studying Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, my teacher assigned each of us a specific topic about different aspects of the Regency era. Knowing my predilection for fashion, he asked me to work on the trending women's fashions when Jane Austen was alive. I found myself completely absorbed in the tiniest little details of Regency fashion, the imported textiles, the use of chemises, what types of slippers they wore. From exploring the what, I soon found myself asking how and why. I began to see the deeper connections between the socio-economic climate and prevalent cultural trends, and how that all manifested in the form of major fashion trends. Before I'd ever thought of Napoleon as a totalitarian man from some distant era in history. Now I found out how close he has come to conquering England, and how his rejection of extravagant court fashions in favor of ancient Greek philosophy popularized the empire-waisted gowns that dominated Regency-era England ballrooms. You really see the student in this paragraph, right? You really get to know her. She really opens up and show what a curious mind she has, how motivated she is to pursue this topic, right? It's just really fascinating. And there are many other ways you can avoid writing the SAT and ACT and get accepted to your top choice school, such as really strong recommendation letters, right? Or really standout activities sections. And I will put a few links in our video description here so you can check out the blogs and learn what else you can do to stand out without the standardized tests. But I think from this video you get the idea that avoiding these tests actually plays to your advantage, right? You can dedicate your time to something you love. You can really excel in activities that you want to pursue, and this way you'll save time, money, and effort and stress by avoiding these tests and doing something that will actually make you a standout candidate. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and share with a friend who may be considering writing the SAT or the ACT. Maybe will change their mind. You may save their life and their money if you share. And if you have any questions, please do comment and leave the questions in the comment section. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.